to our school board meeting. We met in closed session and discussed employee issues and negotiations, but no decisions were made. I'd like to call this meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Foreham, would you like to lead that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, that little voice I heard out there was the cutest ever, so thank you. Yay. That was just, that made the evening, so great. So now we move on to reports and recognitions, and I'm going to start with the President's report. Is it on? Oh, there. Okay, there we go. Okay. Tonight for the President's report, I would like to celebrate and share with you all the incredibly powerful work going on in classrooms across our district. In the past few weeks, our board has been able to tour campuses and visit classrooms. Everywhere we travel, students are deeply engaged in learning as teachers work their magic with innovative lessons grounded in strategic instructional practices. It's fabulous to see. In every elementary classroom, walls are covered with the work of students, as well as giant posters created by the teachers to help students develop thoughtful steps and effective strategies for probing and questioning fiction and nonfiction, whether it be from literature, history, science, or math. At the center of this slide are cupboard doors covered with posters dedicated to reading workshop and strategies for analyzing text. This is only October, and already students are understanding learning objectives and embracing strategies in such a way that they can effectively engage in group discussions, work with others, or independently focus on the task at hand. These skills come as a result of the efforts of truly dedicated educators who come to work every single day to address the academic and social emotional needs of every single one of our children. We have always staffed specialists, intervention teachers, and aides for the support of our students. However, with funding given to address learning loss from the pandemic, we have been able to build that staff for this year. As you can see, that enables educators to implement a variety of grouping strategies and tools to assess, analyze, and support every one of our students. The illustrations and writings in the bottom corners are examples of how students at a primary level are addressing diversity and inclusion. Students read and analyzed a comical story about Elmer the elephant. I was mesmerized by this board. Their writings were fabulous. This elephant tries to look and act like all the other elephants, only to learn his unique humor and patchwork-colored skin are what the others are drawn to and what they appreciate about him. Reading this story created positive opportunities not only for critical analysis in the writing of these primary students, but also for powerful classroom discussions. There's more evidence of the fantastic teaching going on at the middle school level as teachers implement signature practices to give our students the tools to explore at a deeper analytical level. Here on the top, you see evidence of one of our signature practices, thinking with depth and complexity, and that's been a part of our district since just after 2000 when we had the opportunity to be trained by Dr. Sandra Kaplan of UC School of Education. Thinking with depth and complexity being implemented across curricular areas. In this example, the winter at Valley Forge is researched from focusing on depth and complexity icons of origin, multiple perspectives, and impact. Solving problems and creating solutions for science, math, technology, and engineering are done in partners, small groups, or individually, often using computer programs as an outreach to the world. Teachers have been known to dress up as Vikings, pharaohs, and other historical figures to bring learning to life. Remember how we spent most of the time in high school sitting in our desks among rows of other students sitting at desks? Learning has much more energy and mobility to it these days. Outside spaces are being used as classrooms. Inside spaces are full of technology and experimentation. However, what is important to note is that working independently or in small groups can only be successful when there is a powerful foundation of strategies and skills taught by highly trained and incredibly creative and innovative teachers who spend much of their personal time researching, collaborating, and developing units and lessons that address clearly defined objectives. As you can see in these pictures, students are being taught to discuss, debate, and innovate. The texts they read, the problems they address, require high-level critical thinking skills, all of which are taught and modeled every day by educators who are dedicated to giving the most of themselves to their children. At a time when life has presented multiple challenges for all of us, our teachers and supporting staff have not stopped expecting the most from themselves. Their intelligence, dedication, and heart are evident on every campus in this district. We know how fortunate we are to have such committed professionals. You teachers and educators have our sincere appreciation. I would also like to thank, on behalf of the board, Andrea Reed and her education services team, who have built in so much staff development, collaboration, time, coaching, and networking. That support and reinforcement is instrumental in embedding strategic instructional practices on every campus in every classroom. So I really want to, on behalf of the board, to thank our educators in the district who have gone above and beyond at a time when we're all tired and challenged. So thank you so much. Now we welcome our school board high school representative. Well, we all look forward to this.
All right. Good evening, President Davidson, esteemed board members, Dr. Pulver, executive cabinet, and community members watching in person or on the line. Hello once again. My name is Will Brandenberger, and I want to thank you all for tuning in for my 4th student board report. Without further ado, let's get into what's been going on at Los Al. Before I start the nitty-gritty, I wanted to give everyone a quick life update. As I'm sure you all know, Halloween is just around the corner, and with that brings the final year for my haunted house. With our first showing this week, it's been a race against the clock to get all of the decorations, projectors, fog machines, and lasers up. It's been bittersweet, but the community support has kept my favorite holiday alive, especially the support from our very own Mr. Forehand, who was the first to see the sign for Waxworks Home Hunt go up. I'll have some more pictures coming soon, so stay tuned for what is surely my most ambitious creation to date. On the academic side of this week's report, I wanted to showcase something different than usual. I found it a little hard to make this slide as I want to give everyone a view of what's going on at Los Al, not just from my perspective. Coincidentally, the new paper tutoring service is just the help I needed. I found this resource very helpful in all of my classes, especially mathematics-based classes, but paper really does do everything. I can think of no better way to showcase the service than showing everyone what it is actually like to use. I was stuck on making this slide for this week's report, but no fear, paper is here to help. I explained my problem to the live tutor, which in this case was getting a screenshot from my board report. Sarah, the tutor, agreed, and my problem was fixed in under 3 minutes. While my problem may have been on the simpler side, I have used paper for my other classes, and they've helped so much. Just last week, I used the service for my physics homework when I forgot how to do a simple 2-dimensional motion problem. The tutors don't just give you the answers. You have to work for it. They send detailed pictures that can help you visualize the problem or ask questions that lead to mastery of a subject. I and many others find paper very useful, and it's sure to become more helpful as final season lurks in the shadows. Are you ready, folks? Homecoming is ready to dock, and the theme was just announced. Don't walk the plank, as this year's dance is Homecoming on the High Seas. It's time to break a peg leg and put on an eye patch, as this is our final dance that will be held on campus for this year. ASB has already planned a week full of dress-up days, along with fun activities that will have you scallywags in for a real treat. Homecoming week is going to run from October 25th and end on October 30th with the dance on the LAHS campus. This is one you don't want to miss and is going to be a great way to finish out the Halloween season. On the athletic side of things, 2 weeks ago, Los Al held our annual St. Jude football game. This is our yearly game dedicated to raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. For this year's game, Los Al raised $6,765. As impressive as that is, the football team backed it up with an excellent win against Corona Del Mar with a score of 42-14. And just this past Thursday, football took another win from our rivals in a nail-biting 35-28. The Chargers did put up a good fight, but the Locos unplugged them by dressing in all black. And to quote AC/DC, we were back in black for this game, and we brought that rockstar energy. Also last week, girls volleyball held their senior night against Newport. Unfortunately, we did lose, but the team gave their all for what was their final home game. The student section brought the energy too, with a jersey-themed game where everyone wore sports jerseys from any team they could find. I was a little confused about the theme because the only jersey I know sells some amazing sandwiches and accidentally showed up in my Jersey Mike's uniform. Some were confused, others loved it, and thankfully, nobody asked their sandwich Mike's way. In the pool, boys water polo has been taking some serious wins lately. Last Saturday, the team beat Palos Verdes, which officially puts them in top 10 of Division I play. Senior Liam Maples scored twice and helped the team towards this major win. Congratulations to all of our sports teams. I can't wait to see what I'll have to report on next. As amazing our athletic teams are, what's even better was the choir show last week. For those that saw it, they were treated to an amazing performance from hit musicals like The Wiz, Tina, Catch Me If You Can, The Addams Family, and Wicked. Unfortunately, Mrs. Reed is not here tonight, but they did perform her favorite number from Wicked, Defying Gravity. This was the first live Broadway show since 2019 and the first performance of the year. All of the choirs connected in the show, ranging from the musical talents of sound effects to expressions. The consensus was clear. Choir killed it last week. And for those that missed it, don't worry, as the holiday show is on December 9th, 10th, and 11th, so mark your calendars now. And some more great news comes from our award-winning marching band, who got first place in the Ayala Music in Motion tournament on Sunday. All of our arts programs are stepping up to the competition and impressing everyone as this year has gone by. Keep up the great work. For this week's teacher time, I thought it'd be fitting to showcase the amazing Mrs. Osterman as she finishes her first class reading assignment for this year, which I luckily finished on time. Mrs. Osterman has been an amazing teacher at LoSal for what is now her 7th year, where she teaches AP English Literature and Composition, along with English 3. Outside of school, she is married to her loving husband and is the proud owner of what she says is the best dog in the world, Mari. What makes LoSal special to her is the community, closely knit teachers, and the collaboration between students and the freedom given to teach. Teaching to her is not just a carbon copy of lecture notes and then tests. It is a fluid job that must change the circumstances at hand. What makes her job so special is that students here want to learn. They want to succeed, and sometimes that's not found in every school district. What makes her job so when I asked what her favorite memory of teaching is, she cannot recount a specific event. Rather, she says that she loves teaching AP classes because she gets to dive deep into works and gets to know the students on a more personal level, as their insight to the novel actually helps her learn more. And I disagree with her on this point, but Mrs. Osterman's favorite Disneyland attraction is the Matterhorn, specifically the right track. And I'm not sure if you're watching at home, but everyone knows the left track is so much better than the right. What I love about Miss Osterman is that she emphasizes that we are all not just one thing. We all have outside commitments that make us all unique. Whether we are a husband, a wife, teacher, student, daughter, son, a friend, or an associate, we all need to realize that being just one thing is not how we live life, and we need to embrace these commitments. Thank you to Ms. Osterman for letting me interview you this week. And don't worry, I'll get back to my homework as soon as I'm done with this report. And for this week's Student Spotlight, I wanted to showcase my dear friend, Reese Yoshizawa. Reese is a senior at LoSal, enrolled in 3 AP classes, and a member on ASB Tech. So all of those awesome Instagram photos you see on LoSal's Instagram, you can credit to Reese. He loves to surf, eat Korean barbecue and sushi, and when he's not doing homework, he's playing video games like Valorant. But all of this is next to none when you learn that Reese is a karate champion. Ever since he was 4, Reese trained to one day compete at a world champion level. All of that hard work paid off, as just 2 weeks ago, Reese medaled as the official world champion for karate in his age division. To accomplish this, he went on a trip around the world, stopping at places like Germany, Romania, and the Long Beach Convention Center. Over the summer, he trained for 6 hours a day, with little to no breaks. While he's a star athlete and student, Reese is a great friend of mine. He is fierce on the mat, but kind at heart and truly embodies what it means to be a Griffin. I can see nothing but a bright future for him as he continues to excel in school and karate. And who knows, maybe one day he will be another star Olympian that can trace his roots back to LoSal. Congratulations, Reese. Hats off to you. And that's all for this report, folks. Thank you for listening. And to those at home, thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Thank you, Will. It's always uplifting to hear about your personal insights and global perspectives at the high school. Thank you. And now, Dr. Poe.
May I ask Will a question?
Sure,
Thank you.
absolutely. Sorry.
Will, first of all, you are amazing, and thank you for bringing us such joy and great things that are happening at the high school. But I do have a question about paper. So it's completely text-oriented or chat-oriented. So you don't get an opportunity to actually speak with a tutor? Or is it always, explain a little bit more how it works?
Yeah. So I've only used paper just a couple times, so I haven't explored in depth to the service, but from my perspective is that you just kind of chat box, but
Okay.
you can send very easily like images. I've sent pictures of my homework and said, hey, can you explain how to do problem 3? And the tutor's gotten that image and then like drawn on it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there's a face-to-face conversation yet. I think for privacy reasons there may not be, but that's just all I know so far.
Okay, but you have found it useful.
Oh, amazingly useful. It really is helpful. I mean, I spent about 10 minutes with the physics tutor describing to me why you get this equation and then where it's derived from. And that's just much easier than just saying, hey, this is the equation you use. So that's what I like.
Thank you.
Of course,
If I
thank
could,
you for
I
asking.
could add to that. So my son is in high school and he used paper after I forced him. Because they have to come to me when they have trouble. Well, he's in calculus, AP. Yeah, that was not going to help. So he went to paper and it was amazing. He gets on the first and the person said, you know what? That is too difficult for me. I'm going to get you to someone who knows this information a lot better. Within 15 seconds, there's a new person on. And it was a text exchange, but it was also like he could take a picture with his camera and send it to him. There's a whiteboard where they write. And I, being the overbearing and helicopter parent I am, was standing right behind him to check it out. They were so responsive, they didn't give him the answer. He would say, he'd be like, underline something, what do you think? What are you supposed to do with this? He made mistakes. He didn't give him the answer. He made him think about it. He made him try it and then corrected it. It was first class instruction, and this was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night because my
Really?
son procrastinates, not like any of us would, but that I was just real impressed with it. When he's done that 2 or 3 times in every experience, I've been very impressed with it. I'm hoping we're going to roll it out and really push it because we've had great experience with it. And like I said, I wasn't going to be able to help him.
That's great.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Anybody else? Thank you. Now we're going to have Dr. Pulver's Superintendent Report. Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Madam President. And just to add on, yes, paper, I think when they first were a company, did mostly video chat or video back and forth. And as they've evolved, has moved to the chat space. And they actually have found the engagement of students has more than doubled. And I think partially, as Will, as you hit it on the head, is sometimes students don't feel very comfortable talking to a stranger they don't know, seeing their face or having them see their face in their bedroom, 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night, what have you. And so it gives them more freedom to be able to engage in that interaction. So you're welcome. And so, Will, it looks like we might have some similar pictures and talking about some similar things in our report. But I am also, last week, last board meeting, really was able to highlight the fact that we are one of the only district in the state of California having 2 schools who were awarded the National Blue Ribbon, one in each of the categories. Well, just hot off the press this morning, and there's all sorts of different rankings and different groups that they rank, but the U.S. News and World Report just came out with their rankings for elementary and middle schools. And 3 of our schools right here in Los Al were in the top 50, Weaver, Hopkinson, and Lee in the state of California. So congratulations to the 3 of them. Very proud of them. Actually, Weaver and Hopkinson were the first 2 in all of Orange County schools in the U.S. rankings. And then Oak Middle School ranked within the top 100 and McAuliffe within the top 120. So congratulations to our K-8s. Very proud of that. So I thought I would start off the report today talking about, we've been working with the Fallen Hero Foundation for the past little less than a year. Army Sergeant, who was in a Ranger as well, Thomas McPherson, and it's probably easier to see a picture of him. He is a Los Al grad. He is a student, a Griffin graduate who was killed in the line of duty. I think learned today, I think it was his 4th or 5th tour. I think 4 to Afghanistan and 1 to another prior. In 2012, on this date, October 12th, he was killed in combat. Here, the family lives within our community. I can recall when his body was brought back here to the to his family, where they landed on the base. And they had just a formal procession, and we had all of our students from Oak and McAuliffe and the high school. I know all the district office staff came out to really greet this fallen soldier. And so today, we had I also learned today that he was given a Purple Heart, and as part of his bravery as a Ranger. And so his mother, Dee Dee, has been very involved in our community. She's actually been one of the drivers in our senior parades the last 2 years within Rossmore. And so today, the Fallen Heroes has been working on getting a portion of the 605 freeway dedicated to U.S. Army Ranger Thomas McPherson. And so today, finally, we were able to recognize that. They had asked if we would be willing to host the service right outside on the corner of Los Alamitos High School, simply because he was a Griffin graduate, and obviously you wouldn't hold that ceremony right on the freeway. And we were very proud to be able to do that. And so it was a beautiful recognition today. I want to just give a tribute to Thomas McPherson and really his family. So yes, I think it is appropriate. What was really special was to hear the mother, Dee Dee, even really share how we had another Wojak who had died, one of the hotshots who had passed away fighting the fire, and they had named a portion of I think it's the 405 freeway right near Steel Beach Boulevard. And she had shared that every time she had driven past that, she had always stopped and said a prayer for the Wojak family, for the mother particularly, and she shared how she got to interact with the mother at another event. And what's interesting is what they hope is, as people drive by this on the freeway, it'll probably be installed sometime before February, we're told, that you'll stop and say a prayer for the McPherson family, for those that were left behind, et cetera. So it was just really a wonderful ceremony today, and we were proud to be a part of recognizing him. And then as well as you had shared, performing arts in Los Al is really exciting to see. It's interesting, a couple weeks ago, I had a couple superintendents in Orange County reach out to me and say, hey, are you guys doing in-person, inside theater performances? Yes. Why wouldn't we? The guidance fully allows it, as long as it's not classified as a mega event. And so it's kind of interesting that where some districts are shying away from this, but I'm glad that we are not, and we're embracing the guidance to really provide these opportunities for our students. Last week, our Los Alamitos choir, I think they performed outside last year towards the end of the year, but it's very different being on stage, having all the costume changes, being able to come in and out of the sets constantly. And so they presented Broadway 2021, and it was interesting. I talked to some of our parents afterwards, and they said their child was just overjoyed, thrilled, so invigorated to finally be able to perform in front of a live audience. And their dancing and their numbers were just spot on. I will say, it is harder to hear our kids behind the mask in there. That is the requirements. And so maybe we can do something with our sound, or maybe the guidance will change. They did say they'll revisit it sometime before November 1st. But our students didn't let that barrier stop them. They just did a phenomenal job, and I think they were so invigorated and excited and really passionate. I really believe that our students last year, particularly in our arts programs, really felt like they were not given the same credence from the state in terms of the state guidance as our athletes were. And so they really felt shut out. And so for them to be able to come back, this is their passion, this is their life. And I will say that our David Molenkamp and Moana just did a phenomenal job working with our kids, and obviously they have a team behind them as well of choreographers and others. So it was very exciting to be able to see our students performing and just igniting their passions, which is really what we're about. And so it wanted me to kind of really think, well, let's talk about some of the other performances within the arts that are upcoming, because, you know, for some of them, they haven't been able to do this for 2.5 years in some ways. And so our jazz and orchestra, they're very excited about the Gas Lamp November 2nd jazz program at the Gas Lamp restaurant in Long Beach. There are holiday shows in December 15th and December 17th. And then you highlighted that I didn't know that they had placed on Sunday. I knew that they were at a competition Saturday evening, because at Taste for La Salle, we had to wait for them to perform because they were just coming from a portion over in Chino Hills. But this is our LHS instrumental band at our high school football game. And what I love, kind of like what we did with our students for cheer, where we brought in our elementary and even younger, even 3- and 4-year-olds to participate. Or on the St. Jude night, we did the same thing with our band. And so the McAuliffe and Oak Middle School instrumental band students were able to join our high school marching band at the football game on Friday and be a part of the show as well. So really kind of an exciting way, when just kind of continues to cement about the better together aspects there. Our dance show at the high school is coming up. I've tried to just pull these dates right from their website, so I'm hoping these are still accurate, but their winter show is December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then we have a slew of drama performances coming up in the month of October from our middle schools and high school. McAuliffe Middle School has their advanced drama show, The Day the Internet Died. Can you imagine that? Imagine life without emails, Amazon, and Siri. That sounds like retirement for me. I look forward to that sometime. 3:30 and 6:30 p.m. at the McAuliffe Black Box Theater, which is room 87 on October 20th and 21st. Oak Middle School is also having their dramatic arts performance. Again, these are live performances inside. And so that is Law and Order, a fairy tale unit, Who Fell Down and Who Broke the Crown, October 19th and 20th. And I love this one as well. Our high school drama is Puffs, 7 increasingly eventful years at a certain school of magic and magic. And so those shows are scheduled for Thursday, October 28th, the 29th, and the 30th, and tickets are $10. So do go ahead and support our performing arts. It's exciting to see our students really have their passions come to life. But the other piece that I love about our performing arts programs is it's also involving other students. Not everyone is meant to be on the stage. Some of them are really doing the sound behind. They're designing the sets. And so just trying to find a place and a passion for all of our kids to be able to feel connected and be involved with other things outside of school is very exciting. And then another question that I've been asked both by the press and by parents regarding potential upcoming election, should it be successful, is we did ask for the Orange County Register of Voters to provide us some cost estimates. As you know, any election, which it's a recall effort, if it goes forward, that is part of our democratic process. And so I wanted to just share some of the facts that the Register of Voters had shared with us. Any of the costs for that portion would be charged to the district. And so they really gave us 2 different estimates. If it's a standalone election, which means it's not part of a primary or some type of regular election, for trustee area 2, 4, and 5, the election costs could range from $167,000 to just shy of $193,000, $192,948. And if it is part of, the Register of Voters associates this with the June election, given the timeline. They don't believe the November election. If they would be part of a consolidated election, the Register of Voters believes it would be part of the June 22. And that estimate, then you share the cost with other elections that are going on at that time. So you're not paying for the entire printing of the ballot, you're paying for your portion of it, et cetera. So that cost to the district would range. Again, they make sure they tell us these are estimates of anywhere between just shy of $53,000 to right around $75,000. They break down a little bit of the cost for the voter information guide, the cost of the election itself, the cost of postage for the mail ballot return, and then an added recovery cost due to the new system that they use with the voter center model as well. What it doesn't include, what these costs don't include, which the district is also charged for, are pre-election costs that would be a part of that. So they did reach out and they say that there's an additional cost for every signature verification. It's about $3.40 per signature that they have to verify. So if it's 6,000, then it's about an additional 20,400. They say often people believe they need twice as many as required because the signatures don't always pan out. So if it was double that, 12,000 signatures at that 340 rate is $40,800. And the Register of Voters will bill the district for that portion in addition to the costs that are noted up above. And so that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Pulver. Thank you so much. Normally, we would go to recess and then public comments, but we have determined to move the board member communication. Is that what you're doing? Oh, yeah, sorry. Board member communication to just before public comments. We do board communication. We talk about where we've been, what we've seen, and we honor different programs. But it also gives us an opportunity to speak a little more personally than we're allowed to under certain rules and circumstances. So rather than have it be at the very end, when really honestly it's just us, we have moved board member communication to this point of the agenda. So I'm going to begin with Scott. Would you like, Mr. Fayette, would you like to begin?
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Hi, I'm Scott Fayette, board member. I derive great joy in going to all of our schools and seeing the kids. And I have to say, being an over-involved parent in the district for over 15 years, that I thought I had seen it all, done it all. I've been a sub, I've worked for the district as a sub, I've worked for LAIF, I've been an intervention teacher, over-involved parent, helicopter. And this morning, I was at a meeting down at McGaw, Project Seek, which I don't know how, but I've never heard of before, and it was amazing. The other thing I want to say is I'm constantly surprised and just amazed at the generosity of our community. The amount of, it's easy to put a number on a donation because you write a check and that's a number. That number is unbelievably large for all of our schools. It's incredible. But also the time, the energy, and the resources of our parents that donate, and they come to these meetings, they put on these performances, they work in classrooms, whether it's Winkos or Kinkos or Wavos, I mean, all the copy queens. The amount of support that our community gives our schools is unbelievable, and that's one of the reasons, part of the puzzle that makes our schools so great. That's amazing from the U.S. I mean, that's incredible. And I want to say that the community, the staff, the administration, the teachers, that's everything from Mr. Chu, who makes the grounds look fantastic, to the incredible staff that mans our kitchens that are they've doubled their workload. And they are getting those lunches out there and the breakfasts out there. It's incredible. And now just a little about me. The choir was incredible. If you have a chance, I grew up in New York. I actually have a couple buddies that have produced off-Broadway plays. The quality of those programs is easily off-Broadway. I mean, I've paid a lot more to see a lot less. You should go and see it. The middle school dramas that are coming up, it is worth your time. They're always short because they're middle school. They don't have an attention span. So it's always less than an hour. And I guarantee you will enjoy it. It is so fun. They are just out there and doing their thing, and it is great. You want to liven up your day? Just go see it. You don't have to have a kid in the play. I don't, and I still go to them. The other thing I want to say is we have lots of incredible people in our district. I want to point out a couple of them. McGaw, if you happen to run into Dr. Gates, remind him, have him sing you the Ugly Sweater Bingo Game song, which I heard today. and he belted it out, and it was awesome. Sung to the theme of Blue's Clues. And I also want to say to Dr. Ryan Wieswright over at McCullough, he dressed in a giant inflatable chicken suit as a reward for the school. That kind of dedication, that kind of going out on a limb for the students and for your school shows an incredible amount of comfort. You've got to be pretty comfortable in your own skin to jump in a giant, chicken suit. So I just want to say thank you to all of the wonderful teachers and staff, and the students is selfish. I love it. They are incredible. And thank you all for so much for just the joy that you brought me these past couple of weeks. So thank you very much.
Ms. Catuli?
Thank you, Mrs. Davidson. I'm going to start by addressing two issues, I'm going to call them, that have come to light due to information from Sacramento, which is where we get most of our interesting information in education is from Sacramento. And the one thing that I really want to talk about is that last spring when we were discussing the curriculum for our elective ethnic studies class, I said we need to do this before the state comes up with their own curriculum and decides what we should be doing. And guess what? The state has come up with its own curriculum. So Governor Newsom did sign the ethnic studies bill. We have a couple of years to come up with a curriculum. There is a state curriculum. So I know that Mrs. Reed and her group of people and also the social science department at the high school will be getting together, look at what the state curriculum is, look what we have come up with, and come up with a wonderful amalgamation of the information we're supposed to be giving out. So that should be something interesting that we'll be working on. We have a couple of years before we come up with that. But they are going to turn it into a mandatory one-semester graduation requirement. We don't need to get upset about it now because that doesn't go into effect until the 29-30 school year, which I believe is for our current fourth graders. So we'll have a long period of time where we'll be able to actually work through it, see what it is, and see how we can build it into our curriculum at the high school. I'm actually concerned because this means we're going to have 3 semester classes. Well, health is also one that's a semester long. And I just think it's almost harder for the high schoolers to fit in a semester class into their schedule than a year-long class. I'm sure brains better than mine will be figuring this out. They'll be working with the staff, and we do have years before it takes effect. But that was a premonition I had, and unfortunately that came true. Okay, now we'll go back to what I do that's more entertaining, like what Mr. Fayette was saying. The last weekend, I turned to my husband and I said, it's like we're all back to normal. It's like we really aren't wearing masks, and it's not like we're washing our hands all the time. And the reason I want to say that is that I started out Saturday by going to the Seal Beach Chamber of Commerce car show that they have on Main Street, which they didn't have last year because of COVID. It was packed. The cars were fabulous. I saw about 6 that I wanted, but I didn't get them. And it was just the whole community was out there, and it was so fun, and it was just wonderful. And then we came home from the car show and got to go to the Broadway show at the high school, which I didn't think the masks muffled the sound that much. I was totally impressed with the quality of the sound. So I'm going to disagree with Dr. Pulver. I thought they were fabulous. They were happy. There was so much joy in that auditorium. It was just fabulous. So if you didn't make that show, make sure you go to one of the other ones that they have. And then we had Taste of La Salle that night after I came home from the choir performance. And I was trying to figure out how many people were there, and I'm going to guess there were over 3,000.
There were over 3,400 tickets, and we had about 2,600 people attend.
Okay, I believe it, because there were a lot of people standing in a lot of lines. Mrs. Hill actually works for the Taste of La Salle. That's why I looked at her, and I knew that she did that. So I thought that was just, it was so great. Again, it was a celebration. We were all coming together in a group, and it's always a fun evening to go to the Taste of La Salle. And then I was also able to participate in an implicit bias professional development that we had for our staff. I have gone through implicit bias training before through another organization, And I just wanted to make sure I could see what our professional development was. It was, in my opinion, too short, but it was well done. The presenter was very engaging, and I think there were aha moments, because when it's something's implicit, you don't know you have it. So you do need to have an aha moment. So I thought that was quite good. I was also able to attend Thomas McPherson's dedication for his sign for his ultimate sacrifice. And I just really appreciate the people doing that. And it's always sad when we lose anyone, but to lose a dedicated Los Al grad for the betterment of the world, it breaks your heart, and appreciate the sacrifice he and his family have made. I'm also on our North Orange County Regional Occupation Board, which is our consortium for career technical education, and my meeting is tomorrow night. And usually what happens is that I don't say anything about it, and then when we have our next meeting, I kind of forget what we have done. And I just thought I'd share this because I think a lot of people don't know it. But one of the things that ROP does is that they also handle apprenticeships for specific career programs. They are considered the local education agency, and they're needed in order to qualify the kids so that they can get certificates. But ROP actually is involved in the apprenticeships for Association of Builders and Contractors, California Firefighters, plaster tenders. I love that term, a plaster tender as opposed to an untender, or I don't know, and for sheet metal. And these are all occupations that are well-paying and are needed and necessary in our society. And I'm just proud that we are part of an organization that supports learning for everyone and getting good careers and going forward in their life in a very positive way. And that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Hill?
Thank you very much, President Davidson. So I had the pleasure of going to my first Los Al football game, which is unbelievable for me. It was the 5th game of the season. I'm usually at every one. But it was amazing, and I was really pleased that we've been able to use Westminster High School. Great partnership, great place for our students to play. And it was just such a joy to see all the song and cheer. And what they do is they do a week-long camp with local younger cheerleaders. I mean, as young as 5, some of these cheerleaders were. And the connections that they make with these young women that are our Los Al cheerleaders are just amazing. And the money that is charged goes to St. Jude. And so it's a great opportunity for these students to really learn how to mentor younger people coming up and give back. And that's one thing that I know our students do a lot of, is that they give back to their community. I talked a little bit last week. I went to an event for an organization called Pathways to Independence. I'm on their board, and they were started by a former principal at our continuation school, and it's just, it's one of the things that really gets to my heart. And we live in a community where we have so much support and such great parents, and we forget that not everybody has an opportunity to be raised that way. Got to walk with the Weaver Whales and Mrs. Galicius and Melissa, Mrs. Davis, to school, and it was really amazing. And we had some really heartwarming opportunities with the students, and I was just, they were all really pleased and had a great time. And we lost a few whales, whale balloons, but other than that, we were good. The choir show is one of my favorite things to do. I'm a huge theater buff, and to be able to see live theater and see those students perform. And one of our directors, Moana, said to me that 70% of those students had not been on a stage because of COVID and losing last year and so forth. So the electricity was amazing from these performers, and there are some really, really talented young people. I expect a lot from them. And then, as Mrs. Cottuli said, I have helped run Taste for LaSalle. It was our 20th event. It was 21st year, but our 20th event. And I just want to give a shout out to Larry and Nancy Strother. And they are really the two that are the head of the whole event, and the dedication that they have to this community, what they continue to do and give with their students long gone. But it was really kind of joyful because there were a lot of students who had been our kids, who had worked the taste from the time, I think we let them start working it when they were like 12 and they had to pick up trash. Really hideous job. But there were many of them, probably about, I don't know, 7 or 8 that came back and for the 20th and worked that. And 3 of them were the Strothers children. And so I just thank them for their dedication to this community and for an event. And people were ready to be together and support boosters and support our clubs, and the silent auction was amazing. So, and Madam President, I just have one more, I'll take a little bit of time if that's okay. So I really feel it's important that I want to address the governor's news conference last week dealing with mandates, vaccine mandates for students. He announced that COVID vaccine would be required for children in school in either early January or July of 2022. So a couple things I'd like to address. First, this mandate comes from the state. It does not come from local school boards. We do not have local control over it. And at the governor's press conference, he said that he would support local control if school districts wanted to escalate the vaccine mandate sooner, not the other way around. I personally, and I don't usually talk about my personal thoughts, but I personally have concerns about this mandate. But more importantly, I have heard from many parents and community members who have concerns. In fact, I had one, because I did Taste for LaSalle this weekend, I ran into a lot of parents. And I had one mother who told me this story that was just broke my heart. The way that she conveyed her feelings. She said she cried for 2 days about this because she had wanted her kids, her husband had gone to school in LaSalle, graduated from LaSalle High School. Her children are 4 and 6 in our district. She wanted them to go to LaSalle and have that same experience. She is all in all the time. And she's just not at a place where she's confident about vaccinating her 4 and her 6-year-old. And she thinks that that may take her out of this incredible school district and community. And that was really heartbreaking to me. So as a school board, I really believe that we are here to serve all families and staff. And parents who have wanted their children to get vaccinated and staff who has wanted to get vaccinated has had that opportunity. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that they have been able to do that. That my mother-in-law, that my aunt-in-law, that the people that I'm really concerned about and that are in that high, what am I looking for? Vulnerability, have been able to do that. And I'm really grateful for those that have been able to make that choice. But we're also here to serve the families who aren't ready to make that step about vaccinating themselves or their children. And so our district, I feel, has done a really amazing job with COVID. The protocols that we have put into place, although may not be optimal for everybody or for a working condition, they have allowed our students to be back in class full time. They've allowed our staff to feel comfortable and safe in their environment. They've allowed parents to be in the classrooms under certain protocols, and we've kept cases extremely low. So, so we ask, what can we do, right? So this board loves to hear from people in our community and our parents that have concerns, and I'm sure we will this evening. But really, where it has to be heard is the governor's office, is the state assembly and the Senate. They have to hear what parents really want and feel. And so personally, I plan on writing my representatives every week. And of course, we can ask for no statewide mandate. But I think secondarily, we really need to make sure that the exemptions that currently are in place, which is a personal exemption, a religious or medical reason exemptions, we really need to ask those to remain in place no matter what happens. And I think that that's something that we can do, and that we can, no matter what our position is on this, I think that it is important that your voice is heard, and it's heard where the decisions are made. And so as a friend pointed out to me, we know that the most vulnerable are 65 and over with underlying health conditions and weakened immune systems, and they are not being mandated to have vaccines. Where the least vulnerable are under 17. And it's just hard for me to understand why that's something that has to be mandated at this point in time for our children. And so everybody in this audience may not agree with me, and that's okay. That's the country that we live in. But I do think that there are parents that are really, really concerned about their children, and I have to take that to heart. I really have to take that to heart. And I don't do that. That is not what I'm doing it for. I am doing it for the people that come and talk to me and are heartbroken with where they're feeling that their children are having to go through. So I also wanted to say that be aware that I'm wearing a lot of pink today because it's Breast Cancer Awareness, and there are a lot of great different fundraisers and things that are going on, and I'm involved with one in my gym, and it's called, there aren't too many students in here, are there? It's called Barbells for Boobs. And it is a fundraiser that we do to help women that are with breast cancer be able to take care of themselves from their emotional needs as well as their health needs, and not necessarily fighting breast cancer. It's how do they recover and how do they get through it. And a lot of that is through exercise, and so that's one of the reasons we do it. I am done. Thank you, Mrs. Davidson.
Thank you. Mr. Forehand?
Yes, it's well said.
Thank you.
Yep. I had the pleasure of finishing all the school walks. I got to see the Rossmore Knights, the McGaw Sea Lions, and the McAuliffe Eagles, and they're all in great hands. I took my two grandsons to the show choir. They're at 2nd and 4th grade at Lee. I'm still in awe. I'm not sure they're still in awe, but they did sit through it and enjoyed it, I think. Taste of LaSalle was incredible. Thank you. Our Rossmore Homeowners Association continues to be getting into the schools. They served lunch last week at Hopkinson, and Friday we'll finish the 4 elementaries at Rossmore. I got to walk to school with the Hopkinson Huskies, and it was absolutely delightful. Staff Development Day, I too, Meg, have ahas still from getting to sit through the implicit bias about myself. Nuts and bolts, I call this section. I got to serve lunch today at Rossmore with the kids, and a big shout out to Imelda and Coriana, 2 ladies in the cafeteria that make magic happen. And they served 327 kids lunch in a matter of seconds, it seemed like. I really like visiting, and I love what Marlis reported about the classrooms, but they're making stuff come alive. I got to hear about the kids at Oak. They're taking a science class where they're actually becoming landscapers, real-life landscapers, and they're designing the quad planters cost, the best kinds of water-resistant plants, blah, 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 all that stuff. So that's making learning come alive. Kevin and the cafeteria staff, they set the new record, I heard, 857 lunches served in a record amount of time. So again, stepping up and getting it done. Will talked about paper, but there's other things that are going on at the high school as well. Tutoring by the Cal State Fullerton tutors. College Day resources are available. The Griffin Lab is going great to help our kids. Saturday Academic Intervention Academy. There's all kinds of ways that kids can get help as we return to what seems to be more normal. A shout out to the band teachers at Oak and McCullough for taking the kids in band at the middle school to the high school game, and they got to play along the marching band. I don't think they marched, but they were in the audience. And the best part was they got to eat pizza, so that was good. Let's see, last thing. I think it's a mindset, one of the mindset strategies. Kids never give up, never give up, never give up. One of them, I think, is having grit. And I got to meet at McCullough a boy that was in a wheelchair in our first classroom that we visited, didn't have an aide with him. And then I turn around and we're upstairs in a science, I don't know where we were, but there he was again. And I said to the student, you've got grit. You've made it. You have no one helping you get up here. You know, how do you do it? And he just said, I do it. So I'd like to end with that.
Thank you, Mr. Forehand. I will just briefly say that I'm very grateful for the walkthroughs at Rossmore, McGaw, and McCullough, and what I saw, as I expressed before. The staff development on implicit bias and microaggression was excellent. It was a beginning foundation for our studies of inclusion, equity, inclusion, and diversity. The presenter was outstanding, and as Meg said, it needed to be longer, and we have further staff development days planned ahead. Going today to Sergeant Thomas McPherson's memorial service, the service announcing his sign on the freeway, was very heart-rending. It took me back to when his procession, the procession with his casket, went past our schools, and all of our kids, I was teaching at McCullough at the time, stood patiently for quite a while waiting for that procession to reach them with flags held high. And when it went by, all nearly 2,000 students stood with their hands on their hearts, their flags in their hands, you know, really deeply affected and impacted by what they saw. So his mom today was absolutely astounding. Her positiveness, her willingness to speak about the Wojak family and how she prays for them was such a reminder of courage and integrity. I can't even imagine the pull between heartbreak and pride that has to be a part of everyday existence for a Gold Star family. We are so proud of him and his family. We thank him for his service. I thank everyone who spoke today for reminding us of the bravery of every soldier, every first responder, firefighter, and police officer. As for the choir, everybody already said it. David Mellencamp and Moana are miracle workers, and these kids give heart and soul to the performances. It's pure joy, and Broadway theater is also my passion, so I can't imagine anything more uplifting and exciting. And it is such a reminder that our kids are back. We are moving closer to our former realities, and I went to the high school freshman football game. We got killed, but the kids didn't care. They were out there doing what they loved, and they gave it all. As far as the mandate goes on shots, I feel like I really wish that Governor Newsom would do this is me personally, a better job of planning things out before he issues mandates. We don't know what we would do with the students who would be pushed out of school. We don't know if they're going to allow exemptions. We don't know if people's personal convictions about kids from 5 to 11 will make a difference. And I think it's hard. And what I just really wish for this community, and I know you're fully capable of it because every person in this room is incredibly impassioned and tied to your beliefs, is that at least on this, because we have time, can we work together to try and create some possible solutions so that children aren't pushed out of our schools, but our students remain and our staff remain safe? We did it before. First public school to open in Orange County. Low numbers all the way along. We did what we were supposed to do. Our teachers, our people who aren't vaccinated now do regular testing. Our numbers are ridiculously low, thank you God. And I just feel like this is an issue that we can come together and discuss without anger, without an inability to hear one another. Because for me, I was at my son lives in Virginia, and my daughter-in-law said, we'll vaccinate Maddie. Well, Maddie's a kindergartner. And I just looked at her stone-faced because I didn't feel it was my right to say yay or no to it. He's too little. He's growing, he's changing. And we don't even have an FDA approval yet, or an okay to give it to those little ones. So we have time. It may be the solution we want. I'm not saying one way or the other, but we need to come together and look at solutions rather than standing on opposite sides and just screaming at each other. This isn't our children. We may not agree on very many things, all of us in this room, but we all agree on we're here for the kids. And so that's how I feel about the shots. And then how I feel about the recall is it breaks my heart. These 3 people, 2 of them haven't even been on the board a year. How do you establish your cause identity or whatever else in that amount of time? Mrs. Catulli has served this district for over 20 years on the board. There's a reason why people keep reelecting her. And the fact that the money is going to come out of your kids' classrooms is heartbreaking. Mr. Fayette talked about how money is raised every single day by families writing checks and doing fundraisers. All of you have been a part of that. We'll just figure at least $75,000 of that is down the drain. Mrs. Hill and I are up for re-election next year. They're up for re-election in a couple years. I don't oppose recalls. It's part of the democratic process. But before you sign your name on any paper, please realize the cost. And I think that is about it for me. And we thank you. This was a unique experience being able to speak when there was still an audience. And we are now going to move on to your opportunities to speak.
Mrs. Davidson, can I say one other thing about the recall?
Yes.
I would just also say, before you sign your name, call one of these 3 people. Call us. Ask. Just ask. What the questions you have, ask us. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we are moving on to public comment. The board welcomes input from the public. This is the opportunity for community members to provide public comment to the board on agenda items or items not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board should complete a speaker request card. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, plus public comment is limited to a total of 30 minutes. And I don't believe we have enough cards this time to have to make any changes on that. Comment cards can be submitted to the district office anytime after 9 a.m. and throughout the day of the board meeting, and we will also be accepted at the start of the board meeting. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, state their name, and adhere to time limits. The board may not take any action or discuss any items not appearing on the posted agenda and cannot immediately respond to public comments. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because those comments are made at a public meeting. So we will begin with Laura Tanner.
I don't have to wait for 2 hours. Thank you. Hello, good evening. I'm here to share my story, which may ring true with thousands, if not millions, of fellow Americans. In January of 2020, I received the shingles vaccine and ended up in the hospital due the next day to the severe reaction to the vaccine. Curious as to why I reacted so severely, I decided to do some research on vaccines, and to my dismay, I discovered that modern vaccines are made from or tested on aborted fetal cell tissues. As a born-again believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, I cannot inject into my body any substance made from or tested on aborted fetus cells. I did it out of ignorance before, but now that I know, I have a strong religious conviction and a belief against any vaccine made that way. The currently available COVID vaccines were either made with, or tested on aborted fetus cells. In January 2021, my husband, son, and I all had and recovered from COVID. I do not know of any reason why one would take a vaccine if one has already naturally acquired immunity to a disease. An article in Medical News Today titled Delta Variant, What Kind of Immunity Offers the Highest Protection? Asked the same question. The study findings suggested that natural immunity provides longer lasting and stronger protection against infection, disease, and hospitalization due to the Delta variant compared with the protection from the vaccine, the 2-dose vaccine from Pfizer. So for all of you out there scratching your heads about vaccine hesitancy, I hope my story has cleared up the confusion. My severe physical reaction to a previous vaccine, my and my family's religious conviction against injecting our bodies with anything tested on or made with aborted fetal cells, and our naturally acquired immunity from having recovered from COVID convinced us to remain unvaxxed. As an American, that choice should never be taken away from us. I will never let my child be vaccinated with these vaccines. And if that requires us leaving the district or going someplace or homeschooling, I would love to homeschool because I am a teacher and I love teaching. But I will not give in to having this vaccine. Ms. Hill, and Ms. Davidson, I'm excited to hear that you want to work with us to make Newsom take back this mandate, because it's not an American thing to do to force somebody to do something against their strongly held religious convictions. Thank you.
Rachel Sandoval. Rachel Sandoval.
Hi. My husband and I have 3 girls and 1 boy, spread out over 3 schools within the school district. We've been here for 13 years so far. We have 7 more to go. Our kids are Hispanic. All of our kids know that life is hard work. Dreams require effort. You will encounter unkind people throughout life. Everyone will have obstacles, some more, some less, but it's up to our children to make their own destiny. We expect that our kids treat everyone with kindness and respect. Stand up for anyone being bullied, period, and no exceptions. We moved to Rossmore specifically for the school district. My stomach turns at the thought that there is anyone in this room who thinks that my kids will be held back because of the color of their skin, or that we are now hyper-focused on teaching our staff and students to look first at skin color and gender identity, instead of pushing them to be the most innovative achievers and giving community members. We've had a multi-ethnic household for 25 years. Our skin tones range from dark to mine. It is bizarre to us that we are now so hyper-focused on fixing a world that has never, ever held us back. Stop assuming that someone's outward appearances keep them from having the ambition and the grit to make their dreams come true. Why are you making our system so complex now? We don't send our kids to school to discuss how they need extra help because they are brown. And for my 5th grader to awkwardly be expected to discuss what her gender is on the playground. Teach my kids academics, expect them to be kind. Help the kids that need specific help, and the school district has done that for my own family. That's your job, that's all. Not to change the entire district into a social, emotional workshop because my kids are brown and other people might be different than you. Instead of enrolling our daughter in one of the worst schools in Orange County 13 years ago, we transferred into the Los Al School District. Her kindergarten mascot at Weaver was a toucan named I Can. From that first day, this district taught my children that they can not only do anything, but they are going to lead the community to get there. We are no longer the school district that teaches our kids that they can blow past every expectation. My family is now left wondering if we can stick it out here for 7 more years. It's a school district we don't recognize anymore. I appreciate your numbers on the recall effort. I would point out, though, that Dr. Tyrone Howard wrote a foreword on a book that was...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your time's up. Thank you. Stacy Moeller.
Hi, I'm Stacy Muller. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say first, Diana and Marlis, it's good to hear you speaking up for the kids for vaccines, against vaccines, and it seems like it should be that way. I'm sad that it's not, but I appreciate that this is the first time that I've been here that I've heard you extending a hand to the parents to talk about this, to gather together, to come together, and I appreciate it. I really do. And it's your friendly neighborhood domestic terrorist, Stacy Muller. But Diana, you may not like my approach because I'm not up here in tears, but I am a single mom. I had to pull my kids out of the district, and I provide for my kids alone. So it's not easy, okay? And I love this district. I've been here 7 years. My kids have been in this district 7 years. I love it here. And it's not, like you said, I don't recognize it. It's changed, not for the better. And also, has anyone else wondered why, if we don't have, I think it's 2,500 kids didn't return this year as students in this district? Okay, well, we don't know the number because guess what? You won't give it. So I would love the number, but apparently there's a lot of kids that haven't returned, and I'd love to know the number, and I'm surprised that we aren't more surprised or caring about it financially. And so what we found out is that you are paid more money now than you were before per student. It used to be $12,000, now it's $18,000, is that correct? Okay, well it is. And then, my kids can run around pavilions. 100 kids in pavilions could run around and play together, but then you go to McGaw and you have to put a mask on and get a vaccine. It makes 0 sense. Because pavilions is right next to McGaw, that's why I bring that up. And keeping the kids under COVID regulations is the key. That's how you get your money. The administration received a $2.3 billion bonus to their retirement fund and other paid bonuses across the board to if they keep their kids in the COVID restrictions. That's a fact. It's the governor's budget. And this district received millions of dollars in extra funding from their part in the COVID relief package, totaling over $180 billion in the last 2 years on top of their usual funding. It has paid for the classes like ethnic studies and the consultants that come with it, like Danielle Nava, which was $180,000. It'll cost less than a lot of salaries up here to get, I know you're not paid, but lots of people are, and it'll cost a lot less to do this recall. Way less than Danielle Nava got. This isn't about science, it's about money. And I'm honestly really done dealing with this BS. I think we should come together and talk. I think it's about time we did. I've asked for a few people to meet, and it hasn't happened, although Scott, I'd still like to meet you tomorrow.
Thank you. David Condiotti, probably said that wrong, I apologize.
Greetings, board members. My name is David Candiani. This place brings back memories. It didn't look like this, but originally it was Jefferson Elementary where I attended. So I've been in this district for a very long time. I stayed in this district for my kids because I wanted them to be a part of the LaSalle experience. We have the greatest teachers, good programs, great parents, students, and I wanted my kids to be a part of that. Having 2 teenagers, they're both in the high school. My oldest loves the high school, but she's having a difficult times with the close contact, and my wife's been trying to get it addressed, talk to the nurse, the vice principal, Dr. Freeman, even Dr. Pollard, she sent you an email. What's happening, so my wife's, she works for La Salle Hospital. She worked COVID. She was gracious enough to bring it to our family. So our Christmas, we were home. So my kids have antibodies. My daughter spent all summer, my oldest, all summer practicing her drills for color guard. She's also in the jazz band with her saxophone, and she's so excited to go back to school this year. She's a shy girl. She became the she became the captain of her team, which required interview process, talking to her teachers, which was really great for her. Now that she's captain, she's had today 3 close contacts. And our policy for Orange County is 14 days. She could go to school every day with a negative test, but once the bell rings, she has to leave the campus. And it's for 14 days. So the first time, she was very disappointed. The second time, she cried for 3 days. She couldn't, when you saw the band picture, she was supposed to be there. She was there, but she could not attend without, she could not participate on the field. So now she's on three times she's had the close contact. We keep hearing that it's the state that makes the rules, the state. So my wife researched the state. The state says with a negative test, day 5, day 7, they could return. So that's our problem, is how do you explain that to my daughter that, hey, the state says this, plus you're healthy, you're testing, and you can't participate for 14 days when the state says 7 days with a negative test. And that's why I'm here, and I don't know if anyone on the board could reach out or help us with this and define where did this 14 days come from, because that's what we're struggling with, even if we stay within the state guidelines, which we've read multiple times, and we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasin Yan.
Thank you for the opportunity to express a lot of silenced voices out there. So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of my 2 daughters who may not remain in the district in 2022, depending what goes on in this district. I want to say a few things and a few whys and hows and all that. So first of all, this thing that we're dealing with is an investigational set of injections. There is no FDA approval, but rather an emergency use authorization only. Why is there no safety report? It is unprecedented for any kind of medicinal to get through to the public without any safety reports. Why is there no independent review of the initial trials? 0, unprecedented. Why are the phase 1, 2, and 3 experimental injections being tried on us humans in the population? The absolute risk reduction, also known as the risk reduction for these injections, are less than 1.3%, which means 1.3 maximum benefit to not getting the injections. Israel is the optimal trial population, but Israel, Singapore, and the UK are showing that 74 to 95% of the vaccinated are hospitalized, or should I say the hospitalized are vaccinated, and that trend is not stopping anytime soon. Given that Israel has 2.7 cases of myocarditis per 5,000 young people injected, extrapolate that to the US population. The CDC has historically manipulated the numbers. The breakthrough cases in May 2021 were those that had to be hospitalized in order to be qualified as a breakthrough case or a breakdown case. The unvaccinated death definition also changed recently to anyone who dies within 14 days being called unvaccinated, when we know that more than 10% of the deaths are within the first 3-4 days of the vaccination. 3 pilots at Fort Hood died. A Delta airline pilot just recently died within 10 days of vaccination. We have hundreds of thousands of healthcare workers, military, fire, teachers, police. They're all refusing these investigational injections. Why? And why are we losing them? And why are we letting them lose their livelihoods? Why there is no transparency that the 4 most common effects of these injections are heart attacks, stroke, blood clotting, and heart attacks. I'm sorry, multi-organ dysfunction. Why don't we honor natural immunity? In Finland, Denmark, and Sweden, they are restricting the use of these vaccines for anyone under 30 years old. Why are we not looking abroad and seeing the science? There is less than 0.0027% chance of death for these young people. Why are we mandating it for our students and our kids? Why are we vaccinating? I don't even know why we're vaccinating at all when you consider that.
Thank you. Thank you. Ruth Golden. Ruth Golden. Oh, I apologize.
I actually didn't, Ruth Golden, I've been here since 96, live in Rossmore. My son, Sean, went through the whole school district, going for his PhD right now. I want to commend the school district. He had a wonderful education, and he's about to write his dissertation, and he's received his 4 reviewers or professors. So I sat here and I listened to the comments here, and I work for corporate America. And one of the things that my company did not mandate that all employees have the vaccine until the FDA approved the vaccine. Once it was approved, not only did my company, AT&T, mandate that every single employee that comes on site should be vaccinated, so did IBM do the same, so did Fluor do the same, and Dow Chemical. So I'm not quite sure why someone believes that FDA did not approve it. As for the schools that, the states that will require their students to be vaccinated, as far as New York State goes, that will not occur until the FDA approves that vaccine for children. So I'm kind of confused about when someone says that the FDA hasn't approved it, it's in the test phase. That makes no sense to me. The other thing is that you had mentioned that some parent came, Diana, you said that some parent came to you and they said that if their kids are forced to have the vaccine, that they would remove their kids from the school district. I suppose if it's not a school district, if the school district's not mandating this, the state is. So if the state's mandating this, that children will have the vaccine, where would that parent move their kid to? Because it is mandated for all public schools. Okay, so therefore, if they're going to take their kids out in their homes, okay, and that's their choice. Okay, but I was kind of confused when you said that because I didn't know where else they would go. The other thing is that I looked up the testing, and I know this parent's very concerned because of their religious beliefs about the vaccine being tested on aborted cells. Well, it is not. The cells that are used for the testing are cells that were available in 1973. So these are not recent aborted fetal cells. As for, I'm going back and forth here from what I've heard, as for the monies per student, California gives.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Margaret, I don't have a last name.
Hi, I'm here as a parent who is deeply concerned about the vaccine mandate for our kids. And Ms. Hill and Ms. Davidson, I appreciate your comments of concern, and I do very much understand local control and the limits of this board. But I do ask you to work with us and to stand up for our kids in any way that you can. Demand Newsom and the CDPH to show proof that our children are at great risk, and this mandate is truly justified. It is not just like any other vaccine, as he claims. Demand they show proof that the vaccine will stop transmission to others. They can't because it doesn't. I just saw Rochelle Walensky from the CDC recently admit this, that it does not stop transmission. Stand up for our kids, stand up for parents who would like to decline this particular medical treatment for their kids, because they're not comfortable. Many are not comfortable, and no one will be responsible if something goes wrong except the parents. If the boards of California sit back and they don't push back on this in any way, then sadly, yes, I do predict a mass exodus from public, private, and charter schools. And many parents will be absolutely heartbroken for this. For many parents, I just want to tell you that this is their hill. This is their hill. And this is an age of declining and significant enrollment, significant declining enrollment. And I really hope that all of you are concerned about this. I wanted to say that Senator Pan, who is a senator in Sacramento, he has made it clear that he considers the personal and religious belief exemptions that are guaranteed by law right now, he considers it a loophole. Pay attention to his language, because he intends to close that loophole in the up-and-coming legislative session. He's made that very clear publicly. And so there will be a massive fight over the next year from parents. I would love to work with the board for solutions, and you have my depth of gratitude if we could work together on finding some solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Jenny Shealy. Jenny Shealy. Let me see. Gone? Not here. Oh, sorry. Okay.
My name is Jenny Shealy, and I grew up going to this district. I went to McGaw, I went to Oak, and I went to McAuliffe, and I had Mrs. Davidson as my 8th grade core teacher. I also graduated from Los Alamitos High School, and this district is not what it used to be when I went to school. The mandates, I know it's not just the board, it's the state of California that's mandating it, but we do need to come to some sort of conclusion or agreement to protect our young children. I'm vaccinated. I did get the vaccination. I'm a nurse. I knew this was coming. So I got it back in April before they pulled the Johnson & Johnson one. But I have a 1-year-old that is up to date on her vaccines, but I would never vaccinate her at 5, 6 years old with this COVID vaccine. And I think that we need to take a stand and protect our young children, because it's not right. It needs to be a choice. It does not need to be mandated. There are other things that we could do as far as mitigating the risks. Not only am I vaccinated, I actually got COVID from my baby when she was 11 months old in August. So the vaccine definitely does not stop you from contracting COVID. I got it, my mom got it, and we had mild symptoms. The baby had mild symptoms, and she got through it within a few days, and we were fine. So it's proof right there that the vaccination does not stop the spread or the transmission of COVID. And I've seen this with other friends and coworkers that are nurses that have gotten COVID from vaccinated patients. So if we can work together and figure out a solution, if this district can stand up to the state of California, then that would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. It's good to see you. Donna McGuire.
So you move the agenda and you put us on after you got to speak. I'm not even sure if it's ethical, if not illegal, that you're talking about the recall and having a PR committee meeting to the audience and to the people that are on TV before we get to speak. Again, it's not about the parents and the children like it should be. It's about you guys. You changed that for your benefit because you know we're putting you under recall. So again, I'm not even sure if it's legal. It's something I actually texted. We'll find that out. In regards to your position on the vaccine, if you think that our rights have just started getting taken away with the vaccine, it started with the curriculum that you would not listen to us about. We ask you to listen, and all I ever ask, and we met with Scott, and we met with Diane, we asked you to put it off until fall. It wasn't mandated, but you all voted for it, and you knew that your numbers grew from 4 speakers in February to hundreds by the time you finally voted on it. So you let that right get taken away from us, and now you're shocked that they're trying to mandate vaccines. That's not where it started. It started way back, and that's why you all need to be replaced. We need people with backbones. Scott, you're a nice guy. You're a Jimmy Carter. We need a Ronald Reagan up there. So that's why you're going to be recalled. I'm glad you're going to try to fight this vaccine, but it's a day late and a dollar short for the majority of us. It started with the curriculum when we asked you just to wait. You voted on curriculum based on an outline. You didn't even have the curriculum in place. So love ya, Scott, nice guy, lives in my district, but that's why you all have to go. And please, we're going to look it up. Don't use this position during these meetings to defend yourself against the recall. I find that offensive, and it may be illegal.
We thank the speakers who came forward tonight. We now move on to consent items.
Madam President, just to clarify some misinformation or inaccurate information during public comment regarding the different guidelines for the quarantine, it is very confusing for parents. There are about 3 different quarantine guidance that is there. The state has prioritized returning students to the classroom. Unfortunately, they have not to the extracurricular activities. So there are different guidance if the students were wearing masks that they can attend school, but not the extracurricular. The secondary guidance about is if a student wasn't wearing a mask, that test on after the 5th day, which is on the 6th day, they can return to the school, but they can't return to the after-school activities until the 14 days as well. And the parent did the right thing. They're really reaching out to Orange County Healthcare Agency and CDPH because we don't set the guidance there. The other clarification, there's been a gross misinterpretation, maybe misinformation about the decline of enrollment of, I think they say 2,500 students, I think is what I heard from somebody out there. It's not that hard. The state of California actually has DataQuest. It's a website that any public citizen can go on and take a look and look up into district's enrollment. Our decline for this year is right about 170, and our funding per student is just about $9,500. We're one of the lower funded school districts due to we have different populations that we serve, and so the state of California, the students who have higher percentages of EL, socioeconomically disadvantaged, foster youth, et cetera, receive additional dollars through concentration funds that we do not. And I have shared on numerous occasions that it is, particularly to individuals who've directly asked the question and spoke tonight, we do not receive any funds that is conditional upon following the guidance. State and federal funds provided to school districts are completely independent of the health and safety directives issued by the health agencies.
Thank you, Dr. Pulver. Okay, moving on to consent items, we're looking at items 11, A through M, and O through Y. Do I have a motion? Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. We're now looking at 11N, and that item has been pulled to revise. So
I'll move approval, and then
I'll second.
Or do you want to discuss the revision first?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, discussion? Dr. Pulver, do you know about the revision?
I do. It is simple change is really to do with the wording. So it's the approval of agreement with law firm Fagan, Freeman, and Fullfrost to provide legal services to the Los Alamos Unified School District from October 13th through the 12th of 2026. It's just really the rate sheets that should we be able to use the law firm, that we will be able to go ahead and agree to the rates ahead of time within that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. We now move to action items. The first one is approval of a resolution, and Mrs. Hill is going to read it.
I am, and so I will move approval of a resolution supporting the Red Ribbon campaign and Red Ribbon Week. How many times do I have to say that?
Red Ribbon.
Okay. Whereas alcohol drug abuse has continued to be at epidemic stages in the United States, and whereas it is imperative that community members launch visible substance abuse sorry, it's been a long day. Prevention, thank you. Efforts to reduce the demand of illegal drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, whereas Red Ribbon Week is dedicated to the federal drug enforcement agent Enrique Camarera, who was killed by drug traffickers in Mexico in 1985. And whereas in response to his death, parents across the country began wearing red ribbons to symbolize their commitment towards the creation of a drug-free America. Whereas in 1988, Congress proclaimed the first National Red Ribbon Week, and Red Ribbon has now become the symbol for a drug-free movement. Whereas schools, businesses, law enforcement, churches, hospitals, service clubs, government agencies, and individuals in the state of California will demonstrate their commitment for a healthy society by wearing and displaying red ribbons during this week-long campaign. And whereas in 2008 to 2009, the Los Alamitos Unified School District established a priority to address student drug and alcohol abuse and has created the Substance Abuse Task Force, comprised of a variety of school and community members. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Education of Los Alamitos Unified School District does hereby support Red Ribbon Campaign and recognizes October 25th, 2011 through October 29th, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week in Los Alamitos Unified School District, and encourages its citizens to participate in drug awareness activities, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to living a healthy life. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education of Los Alamitos Unified School District encourages all its citizens to pledge no to the use of illegal drugs, no illegal use of legal drugs. I think I read that right.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Dr. Fraser, did you want to address this?
I just wanted to thank Dr. Jerry Freeman, who usually organizes this week for us, along with a site administration that does a great job of putting on different events at our school sites. So I just want to acknowledge the work that they do.
Thank you, Dr. Freeman. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I motion we need a second.
Yeah, I'll second it, because they're reading the resolution.
Resolution was the motion.
Oh,
That's okay.
okay, thank you. Any discussion, further discussion?
Great idea. Love it.
Yeah, it's something that we need to always do.
Anything else? Okay, this
Just
is a roll
excited to see
call.
how we're getting it out to our kids.
Okay, it's a roll call vote. Shoshana?
Mr. Fayette?
Aye.
Mrs. Cattouli?
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Mr. Forehand?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam President, if I may, I believe that we missed an item right after the public comment, which is 10A, information presentations.
We did.
Presentation of supplemental materials.
Oh,
I didn't catch it.
can we go back to it?
Yes, I would recommend that we go back to that.
Are you doing it instead of Dr.
I am.
Mrs.
Mrs. Reed is out this evening. The materials will be available for public preview for 30 days at the Los Alamos Unified School District. The supplemental material is called Ripple Effects. It is social emotional learning supplemental curriculum for grades 9 through 12. As you know, we already took a look at, I think it's second step for elementary, and then it's the base program through our wellness center that we've got through for our middle schools. And then this is a curriculum opportunity for social emotional through 9-12 that they could use through the wellness center. So it'll be on preview for 30 days before it becomes back to the board for approval as a supplemental curriculum.
Thank you. Any questions?
So moved.
Oh, no, we don't.
No, this is
we
just
don't?
presentation. Yep.
Oh,
But
so-
you were on it.
I
Yeah,
was
you were
on it.
on it. Now we move on to approval of warrants. Those are the bills the district pays every month. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll discuss that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. Next is acceptance of donations. These come from our community, from our families, organizations, friends of schools. And does somebody have the,
So moved.
oh, here it is.
Oh, no, the slides.
Okay, so we're going to look at these. So we have donations for Lee Elementary, Rossmore, McCullough, totaling $1,129.70. Where our total to this year is $208,818.03. So that's fabulous. We thank you with all our hearts in this kind of crazy time. People are still so generous, and really you'll go above and beyond. Do I hear a motion for approval? Oh, okay.
A second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just want to say that also this doesn't even demonstrate everything that is donated to our schools because of through
Doesn't do
high schools,
any boosters.
any booster clubs through the high school or
Yeah.
anything like that. So
Even in the elementary, they put on like a drama production or like I think of Pageant of the Arts at McGaw. Things like that aren't included in there.
Also, it's carnival season, and
Oh, yes.
you'll have the other things. All of those items that are donated for those to raise money, that doesn't
not
show up here.
Right.
Just like I said, I am absolutely and continuously astonished by the generosity of our community.
We really deeply appreciate it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. We now move on to classified, certificated, and administrative certificated personnel reports. Dr. Frazier,
Thank you, Madam President.
can I ask you one thing?
Sure.
You wouldn't have an update, would you?
I think it's 4-1.
Okay, thank you. Us?
Yes,
Okay.
the good guys.
Okay, now you can do your report.
Yeah.
Well, in keeping with the theme and in honor of the division series, I'm going to be presenting a triple play of our classified, certificated, administrative personnel reports as presented.
So moved.
So move. Or a second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. That concludes our meeting. We will move into closed session. So thank you and have a great evening. Will, thanks for these. This is cool.